On Tuesday, the U.S. and Egypt will wrap up their two-day strategic dialogue in Washington. It's quite a difference in the relationship we saw back in January when U.S. President Joe Biden took over and was quite at odds with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. The United States expressing grave concern over Egypt's human rights violations at the time. In fact, Biden didn't even place a call to Sisi until May, when he needed to lean on Egypt to broker a ceasefire in the 11-day conflict between Israel and Hamas. Since then, the United States has seen Egypt as more of a partner, although the U.S. still withholding $130 in military aid to Egypt because of those alleged human rights abuses. That's something that U.S. Secretary of State Tony Blinken brought up in an initial press conference with his counterpart, Egyptian Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry, on Monday ahead of that strategic dialogue. But Blinken did praise Shoukry and Egypt for instituting their national rights strategy. Shoukry countered that he felt it was important not only for political and civil liberties rights in Egypt, but also for equal opportunities in terms of economic and social rights. Obviously, those disagreements will play out during the strategic dialogue on Tuesday in Washington. But Egypt really looking to reaffirm its role as an arbiter and a peacemaker of sorts in the Middle East. They can point to the fact that they've hosted leadership from the likes of Israel, Jordan, the Palestinian Authority, and Hamas as they try to keep a balance in the Middle East in terms of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But they're also going to be looking for some help from the United States in terms of its relationship with Ethiopia. Egypt has been at odds with Ethiopia over the grand Ethiopian River Dam. Egypt has claimed that Ethiopia is trying to cut off water to Egypt, and Egypt has said there could be war as a result. Egypt is looking for the United States to put pressure on Ethiopia as a result. However, with the chaos enveloping Ethiopia right now, that may be a tall order. Nevertheless, it will be an ask by Egypt during this strategic dialogue. Also to be discussed, Egypt's relationship with Sudan. Egypt was not among the American allies that criticized that coup in Sudan a couple of weeks ago. Egypt, in fact, has a strong military alliance with the military there in Sudan, and obviously the Americans will have some questions about how much they can rely upon the Egyptians to try to mediate some sort of dialogue and some sort of long-term solution there in Sudan amongst the civilian and military factions. In addition to that, the Egyptians and the Americans are on opposite sides of the situation now in Libya. Also a conversation in that strategic dialogue. In addition to Egypt purchasing Russian weapons a few years ago, those weapons still have yet to be delivered, but the Americans surely will have questions about that. However, set aside the disagreements, there are areas of agreement between the Americans and Egyptians that they can point to during this strategic dialogue. Coordination on counterterrorism certainly continues, and the Americans are quite pleased with the Egyptians' role in strengthening alliances in the Eastern Mediterranean. Now, there's not expected to be major developments, or at least major announcements, coming out of this strategic dialogue. More of a setting of the table for future relations between Biden and Sisi going forward here in this critical relationship for both sides.